Manuela already said a few things, and I fully agree, of course, with what was said earlier, that in these annex projects we have been developing from providing technology answers to technology problems to more understanding the role of the stakeholders and the policies and the business models. So that's why I also focus on this in the Subtask D. So I'm Erwin Mlecnik, I'm assistant professor at TU Delft, the Faculty of Architecture and the Built Environment. And of course, it's a very interesting topic for the Netherlands. As Daniel already pointed out, the Netherlands is moving to these gas-free districts approaches. And so we want to learn what we can do to facilitate that. Well, what was the objective of this specific subtask D was to give recommendations, as Manuel said, to policymakers and building owners. And it was mainly about trying to better understand the influence of the uptake of measures in building renovation at district level, thereby combining energy efficiency and renewable energy. How did we do that? In this workshop Manuela just showed, we already presented a list of about 20 possible local policy instruments, and based on the workshop results, we kind of reduced that to a short list. And now we are questioning many stakeholders. What do you think about the implementation in practice? So there's a catalog that has been developed as part of the results. And also, same way for business models, we have been acting to try to understand what type of business models can be relevant to upscale to district level. So stakeholder research, we have been doing in-depth interviews with different types of stakeholders to better understand the complexity of the matter, and the guidelines will be the final result for next year. First issue. Maybe we were a bit naive in the beginning when formulating this project, trying to decide that policy actors and clients are the main decision makers. In reality, we see that it's not that simple. Policy actors often follow what the majority wants, and clients can be hindered by many aspects and or also peer-to-peer activity. So first instance was to identify the different types of actors that really play a role in the adoption of solutions at district level. And we came up with this list of stakeholders that you see here, which can all have a different role, influence, power, or interest, depending not only on the stakeholder type, but maybe also on the project that is happening. First observation here is that if you want to stimulate this district action, you need to work towards the collaboration of multiple types of stakeholders. And municipalities or maybe also regional authorities can lead or facilitate the development of a common understanding on the topic and the stakeholder dialogue. Now, related to the business models, we identified 4 archetypes of business models: atomized, market intermediary, one-stop shop, and service contracts, depending on the business model owner. And we see that in practice, for example, in the Netherlands, all these business models also exist, but they are mainly limited to either renovation or energy supply, and they don't really mix for the moment. So what we also see is that the business model itself becomes much more complex once you start to upscale from the building level to the district level. And not all actors are convinced that that is the right way to do it on the geographical approach, as the complexity of different stakeholders really influences the business model. So first observation there is that, these innovative business models are emerging, but we should also give them a chance to, find each other and to at the district level. And therefore also this collaboration needs to be facilitated at district level. From the interviews, it's also clear that there is a growing support for intermediaries to do the work in practice. So not the policymakers to do the work, but intermediaries that facilitate supply and demand connections, for example, or private public collaboration, or autonomous policy bodies. What we see now is that these intermediaries exist, but they are sometimes excluded for funding options when looking at district level action. Then related to the policy instruments, we see similarities and differences in the perceived use, difficulty and easiness of the policy instruments that we identify, depending on the stakeholder, depending on the background, but also depending on the country and the region and the municipality and the specific projects. So, but all the instruments we identified, we found them to be useful. So that's an interesting result from the annex that can also be used in the Netherlands. Some of these instruments are sticks and carrots, like adapted permits or control of living conditions, carbon pricing schemes, requirements for sale and rent of municipal land. But the Dutch people are very averse to sticks, so they prefer sometimes the carrots, like the tax incentives and so on. But most importantly, the organizational instruments. Trying to do things in the field, also developing the strategies on the local level, identifying the tactical plans, the online and offline services and communications. And in this project, we have a very nice collaboration with a Dutch supported project in Interreg to Seize the AAA project, which also gives input to the annex and vice versa, where we really try to identify how the policy actors can help the homeowner renovation journey in different stages on the district level. So last slide, Daniel. Maybe also a nice roundup of the whole day. We think that things need to happen at multiple levels, not only on the technological level, but really also on the high vision level. We see in practice that in the Netherlands, for example, the heat plants are being developed for the municipalities, but the building stock renovation plans are sometimes still largely missing. And then there's still also the emerging climate management plans. And in the end, if you want to do something in the district level, you have to also think about combining them really on the top level. On the technical level, what we have seen so far is that it is very important to create this integrated supply, and that there might be a role also for intermediaries, cooperatives, local networks, and supporting of the combination of innovative business models. And what we can already do now on the operational phase is staff and consulting infrastructure and do this stakeholder dialogue in promising districts. This is, for the moment, mainly a staffing problem. So that leaves us to some observations and discussions led by you, Daniel. So I give you the floor.